Okay, well, thanks, Roger, for this. I think from an Aboriginal point of view, this election is important on a number of cases in that we have marginalized people, not just Aboriginal, whether they're homeless, addicted, mental sick health, or physical sickness. And I think all of those people are marginalized. Aboriginal people, 44%. Represented in homelessness, and I think that there's a lot of those issues that are municipal in issue in scope, that can be addressed in this election. I was on the Mayor's Council to End Homelessness, and the idea of housing first was something that we made a concerted effort to enact, and it has been enacted. And I think that from a harm reduction point of view, it's very positive, because the people who are actively addicted are also housed now. Rather than digging them out of a snowbank, in the middle of the winter, we are in a position to aid them. Some people call it enabling, and I don't think that's true, because from a harm reduction point of view, they're housed, they're not at risk in the same way that they were before. I think there are some issues around housing at this point. I would expect secular services, and at this point we don't have that. As Aboriginal people, we've often been offered religion with our education, whether it's residential school or whatever. And I think we're seeing that as almost a condition of housing now, and that's sad. Well, Aboriginal people, as any other marginalized people within an election process, are a bit of a paradox, because one, we don't vote that much as a group. We're not that large a group, but we occupy a lot of the spectrum as far as issues, and costly issues. And so it's really hard for a candidate to take on our issues and be popular as a candidate. So it really cuts both ways, whereas we occupy an awful lot of time and energy for the services, but we really aren't a popular thing to, our issues aren't popular as a candidate. Well, racism is a bit of an issue, and I would say not so much in the election, because of course all candidates, I think, try to be as fair as possible. But I think in the city, it's a real problem. Whether it's from a secular, non-secular point of view, or whether it's from an enforcement point of view. We have a bylaw officer in town here who makes it his business to harass homeless people, and every single person you would talk to on the street knows exactly who this person is. And we've raised it to the city, and so far they sent them on courses, but it's still a huge problem for homeless and marginalized people, the racism and the amount of, we call it harassment, by the constabulary, particularly bylaws. Well, one of the things that we've had some issues with in the last while, and it pertains to the city through the Family and Community Support Services and also the housing dollars that they administer. The Winter Inn program has been cancelled. Now, I know that it came from the province, and they're the ones that cancelled it, but it leaves a large gap, a risk gap, because these people have no place to be, in a cold area. That puts them at risk. And also during the day, there's no place where they can sort of shelter during the day. A lot of these folks have been up all night. They've either been harassed or rousted along, and now have no place to sleep. Now, the only place they're going to get some sleep now is once they're sick enough and end up in the hospital. And I don't think we should be in that kind of situation. Well, I guess the vision after the election would be, for me, goes back to how does the most powerful people in a society treat the least powerful? There was an interesting thing the other day where I was watching a fellow, he says, I judge a people by how you treat your waiting staff. I judge you by how you treat the lesser people of your society, because that tells you what kind of a heart you have, what kind of generosity that you have. And I think that that's where we really have to work in the long term, to have a community where that's looked after.